Namaste and good morning everyone. We'll start our class with the prayers. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ओम शांति शांति शांति. 3 times महामृत्युंजय मंत्र. ओम त्र्यंबकं यजामहे सुगंधिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ त्र्यंबकं यजामहे सुगंधिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ त्र्यंबकं यजामहे सुगंधिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ओम शांति शांति शांति. Welcome everyone. So we'll start as usual with our chanting of the forms of Rama. So I'll say one line at a time and you repeat after me. Ramah Ramau Ramaha Ramam Ramau Raman Ramena Ramabhyam Ramaihi Ramaya Ramabhyam Ramebhyah Ramat Ramabhyam Ramebhyah Ramasya Ramayoho Ramanam Rame Ramayoho Rameshu He Rama He Ramau He Ramaha. Now all together. Ramah Ramau Ramaha Ramam Ramau Raman Ramena Ramabhyam Ramaihi Ramaya Ramabhyam Ramebhyah Ramat Ramabhyam Ramebhyah Ramasya Ramayoho Ramanam Rame Ramayoho Rameshu He Rama He Ramau He Ramaha. Now we'll do for the verb conjugation. Gum. So one row at a time and you repeat after me. Gacchati गच्छतः, गच्छन्ति, गच्छसि, गच्छथः, गच्छथ, गच्छामि, गच्छावः, गच्छामः. Now all together. गच्छति, गच्छतः, गच्छन्ति, गच्छसि, गच्छथः, गच्छथ, गच्छामि, गच्छावः, गच्छामः. In the last class, we had done Visarga Sandhi. So we had earlier done Swara Sandhi related to vowel. And then we did the Visarga Sandhi related to when there is a Visarga at the end of the first word, how does Sandhi take place? We discussed the rules, and thanks to Amit Baba, he prepared a flow chart for this also. So just like for vowel Sandhi, there was a flow chart he created. He also created flow chart for Visarga Sandhi. So that would help many of you to actually have it in one shot. How does the flow work? So I'll just explain to you, and hopefully as a matter of explaining, it will also be a revision for. So first we are saying let the letter previous to Visarga be P and letter subsequent to it be S. And this is the table of the alphabet. It's actually alphabet, just rearranged so that we have put all the voiced consonants highlighted in yellow on the right side, all the unvoiced consonants in. So these two rows as well as the three sibilants, they are on the left side marked in blue. So this is unvoiced and voiced. So first criteria would be, what is the second letter? What is the letter following Visarga? Subsequent, what is S? So if it is any of these, so kakara, khakara, pakara, phakara, shakara, shakara or sakara, any of the sibilants, or the first two rows here, row 1, 2 letters, last row 2 letters, or any of these 3 letters, then there would be no change. And here it refers to rule number 1. So rule number 1 is in the slide here. So here is the rule number 1. A final Visarga remains unchanged before ka, kha, pa, fa, sha, sha, and sa. So this is the rule number 1. And end result I have also mentioned here. I hope you have access to this presentation. This is already uploaded on our repository site. So end result is 2 separate words here. Basically there is no change. Then we are saying what is if S second vowel, second letter, the subsequent to Visarga is among these 3 rows, cha, cha, ta, tha, ta, tha. If these any of these 6, then what happens? It follows the rule number 2. It changes to the sibilant homoorganic. Homoorganic means it actually comes from the same place as these vowels come. So palatal means cha and cha, they are palatal, they are being pronounced from lower palate. So is shakara. So Visarga would change into shakara. And we again, this rule number 2 here it says, and you could actually see the rule number 2 a little bit more detail here. that a final visarga changes to a sibilant homoorganic with the following unvoiced consonants. So before cha and cha, it changes to sha. Similarly to before ta and tha to sha, and tha and tha, sa. Then in the flow chart, next question is, what is P? What is the previous? And P can only be vowel. Remember, visarga can always follow only a vowel. It will never follow a consonant. So the previous letter previous to visarga would be P. That will always be a vowel. So what are the choices in here? It could be akara, it could be akara, or it could be any other vowel. So if it is akara, and S is, we have said voiced consonant or any vowel because we have already considered the other possibilities. So if it's akara, then drop the visarga. And that is relates to rule number 3 here. A visarga when preceded by akara and followed by a voiced consonant is dropped. End result is 2 separate words. What if it is any other vowel? Then it changes to refa. Rule number 5. What if P is akara? So this is where a little bit more combinations are there. When the previous vowel is akara, short a only. Then we have to again see what is the subsequent vowel. So if it's any voiced consonant, this combination changes to O. If it is akara itself, then this combination changes to okara and succeeding akara is elided. That means avagra. And this is visarga is dropped here. The any other vowel other than akara. So we also saw all this in detail. I hope you had the opportunity to go through the notes, and if any difficulty through the examples and exercises. And this topic, Sandhi topic, should be clear to you. If you still have any questions after going through the notes, after going through the class, because the video is also there, so you can always go back and repeat the portions which you found difficult to follow. And even after doing all that, doing the examples, exercise, going through the notes and presentation, if you have any questions, then send us by email. So today we will do a little bit different topic. Before I actually go into the topic, I want to just show you something which I actually put it on the drive in our repository. So that I redid a Sanskrit alphabet a little bit so that it would be a little easier to follow with different functions, and this is already there on the repository. So the alphabet first, so there are 3 sections here. So I'll try to increase it, but then it won't fit in one screen, but you will be able to see better. So 3 sections here. So vowels and consonants. So this is simply alphabet in sequential order. That's how alphabet is written sequentially. First the vowels, and then all the consonants. And I have added akara here in the consonants just for the ease of pronunciation. Actual consonant is just kakara because it cannot be pronounced without a vowel. We normally write a vowel here to indicate that it can be pronounced as ka, but it has inherent akara vowel. Then the second way to organize the alphabet I have put in the form of whether it is voiced or aspirated. So we discussed about voiced and aspirated. Aspirated where there is a flow of air, when you flow of air out of your mouth when you speak that particular letter, and voiced is something which causes the vibration of your vocal cords. So this 5x5 table you would be familiar by now. This is very important that you understand all the positions. Remember where each alphabet lies here. in this 5 by 5 table, and how are they arranged in terms of voiced versus aspirated. If you understand these concepts, it will also help you to pronounce better actually. Then other letters of the alphabet. So all the three sibilants, Hakara, Visarga, all these I have put in the appropriate column so that you can see whether they are voiced or not. So this will give you immediately an idea that whether any particular letter is voiced or aspirated. And here I have put a comment, all the vowels are considered voiced and unaspirated. Then another criteria of having the alphabet is place of pronunciation of various Sanskrit letters. So we saw already there are again this 5 by 5 table is here of consonants. So this row is pronounced through throat. This is also called kavarga because it starts with ka. So when I say kavarga, means these 5 letters. Then lower palate, cerebral upper palate, dental, these words through the teeth and through the lips. And then where do the other letters fall from the alphabet? So that also I have put in. And then there are some comments that while pronouncing this column, nose is also used. They are nasalized along with the place of pronunciation. So you would be pronouncing this with the throat, but nasalize it like like ing in English. Similarly, all other letters in this column. So this is a huge, I told you the Sanskrit alphabet is actually very, very scientifically designed. And there are many other ways where the alphabet has some organization. We are not covering those parts. There has been a lot of thought gone into this designing as well as analysis. Many commentaries have been written on these kind of things. So this alphabet in this fashion is there already in the repository. Hope it will help you to understand some aspects of alphabet. Today we will cover the Shabda Rupa, nominal forms. So if you know, we already have covered nominal forms of Rama, that is Akaranta So we have already covered Rama, and we have also covered Vana. This is masculine, this is neuter. And if you look at this one, this tells you that this is Akaranta. So this is Akaranta masculine and Akaranta neuter. We saw these two words. Rama we have been chanting already for many days. Most of you might have already memorized a good amount of it. Vana is very similar to Rama except the first two rows. So today we'll cover the feminine nouns. I told you already, so gender plus ending. This combination decides our nominal table. So here, for example, masculine akaranta. That means once you know this masculine akaranta like Rama, you can practically take care of all the masculine nouns which are ending in akara. And there are a very good number of nouns, masculine nouns ending in akara. And you basically cover all of them. So that is the beauty of this structure, that once you learn one table, you know everything. You know all the tables based upon that structure. Similarly, neuter and akaranta, you know this table, and then you can practically make any table for any other word which is neuter akaranta. Now, not every gender and every ending, that combination does not exist. And some combinations are more common and some combinations are very rare. So, for example, gender feminine, and if ending is akara, it does not exist. This combination simply does not exist in Sanskrit. You will not have a feminine noun ending in akaranta. So akaranta could be masculine or neuter, will not be feminine. Feminine noun has two common endings, akaranta and ikaranta, long a and long e. There are others, but these two are very common among feminine nouns. Akaranta feminine and ikaranta feminine. Both of these endings, even though they exist for masculine, they are rare. So we will study these two endings today with feminine noun. And these two endings are very common with the feminine nouns. They are available, unlike akaranta with feminine, which simply doesn't exist. Akaranta and ikaranta can exist in masculine, but very uncommon. So we'll see these two endings today, feminine, akaranta and ikaranta. So this is an example of akaranta ending. So you, on the left side, I have put the Rama, the declensions of Rama, akaranta, masculine, and akaranta, feminine. Just for giving a sort of some comparison, I have just put them side by side. So the word which I have chosen here is Gita. All of you are familiar with this word. It actually means, of course, we know Holy Scripture, the name of a scripture. It actually means song. It is also a name of a person, very common in India to find the name of women as Gita. And structure remains the same. No matter what is the gender, what is the ending, the structure of the table remains the same. The same number of cases. Cases mean the same thing. So it's not that instrumental in here would mean something different and here it would something different. No. So that would remain the same. Only these forms will undergo some change, this part. And here, if you look at in K table of Gita, lot of things actually remain common. So for example, if I highlight this part, and then highlight this part, and then this part, and also this part, you will see that despite having the different genders, there is actually quite a bit of common. So on this side, if you look at Ramabhyam, 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 here Gitabhyam, 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 here it's Ramebhya, Ramebhya, here it's Gitabhya, Gitabhya, Ramanam, Gitanam, Rameshu, Gitasu, Ramayoho, Gitayoho. So even when you go across the gender and ending combination, you will find, even though the table is different by itself, but you will find a lot of similarities. And this similarity you will start noticing in many other forms also when we study different more nominal endings. And this one is also common actually. We can highlight this also. So Gitam, Ramam, and add the Makara here. In Gita, in case of Gita, other endings are different. Now you would be surprised to know that Panini actually defines just one set of endings, this one set of suffixes. He only defines, as I told you, only for 7 cases and tells that Sambodhana or the vocative is just a special case of nominative. He just defines one set of suffixes and then he keeps providing the exceptions, that for Rama, this is the exceptions. For Gita, these would be the exceptions. Like, so there could be so many different tables total, and Panini manages with just one set of suffixes and then keeps on providing the rules and exception for different forms. So even though it may look very different, yet, and we study that kind of thing, that how to derive these forms in quite advanced classes. That how does Rama come from Rama, but Gita becomes Gita. So there is a perfect logic actually. There is a set of rules which we study in quite advanced classes, not even next level. So there you will discover that it is the same set of suffixes which he is using here and which he is using here. And then there are certain rules which changes Gita to Gita and Rama to Rama. So with this introduction of the form of Gita, as you know, the meaning remains the same, the cases remain the same. So it is just a matter of yourself familiarizing with these endings. And then how do I derive, if I have to say, for example, get a new word? Say I want to use Karuna. So suppose I want to write the same table for another Akaranta noun, Karuna. So this is also Akaranta and this is feminine. If I have to write the table for Karuna, I can just make it based upon this table of Gita and it will be matching 1 to 1. Karuna means compassion. We have a cow named Karuna in our Texas ashram. So if I have to write, for example, here, just like you see Gita, Akaranta, only the so everything else remains the same except before Akara, here it is Karu and below dot. This thing will be replaced. Gakara, Ikara, Takara will be replaced by this combination. So if I have to write the first form, it will be, of course, the like this. Similarly here, if I have to write, I can just, let me choose a different color. Karunam. And similarly here, Gitaya, I can just write Karunaya. So exactly the same way Gitayai, I can write here Karunayai. Similarly here, Karunayaha. And sorry, this form remains the same. As you can see, these two forms are the same. Fifth singular and sixth singular, they are the same. So this will remain the same, and locative it become Karunayam. And here it becomes He Karune. So you see, I gave you the first singular forms, and the same way you can make the dual and plural forms. Singular is, of course, most commonly used number, but depending upon the context, dual and plural would be used as well. So we'll just chant this table once so that you understand how to pronounce, and I'll repeat one line and you repeat after me. For Gita, Gita, Gite, Gitaha, Gitam, Gite, Gitaha, Gitaya, Gitabhyam, Gitabhihi, Gitayai, Gitabhyam, Gitabhyah, Gitayaha, Gitabhyam, Gitabhyah, Gitayaha, Gitayoho, Gitanam, Gitayam, Gitayoho, Gitasu, He Gite, He Gite, He Gitaha. Okay, one thing if you notice here, in the form of Rama, this is a Shakara, and as you can see, S with dot under. Here it is simple, so it is dental sibilant. This is cerebral sibilant. So why this change? And I just want to give you a very simple rule. The rules of this are quite elaborate and complex, the total number, but just very simple. If this vowel previous to sa, so the actual suffix is actually su. That is the actual suffix, su. If before this suffix, the vowel which comes is akara or akara, then it remains su, same. But if there is any other vowel other than akara or ikara, like ekara here, it becomes shu. So the rule is simple here. Akara or akara plus su unchanged. Any other vowel plus su. So this vowel remains the same, just this will become shu. Okay. So this is why you will see. And if you think that these kind of rules are difficult for you to remember, just don't worry. Mainly be aware of the patterns. So if you see this pattern versus this pattern, as long as you understand that this is seventh case plural, it should be okay. Because our focus primarily is to study, to read, not to write. That's why even if you don't, similarly like rule related to Anaktam, if you find it difficult to understand, don't worry too much about it. Because as long as you understand whether it is Ramena or Vanena, they mean singular third form, it's okay. Similarly, Ramanam or Gitanam, if you understand that this relates to sixth case plural, it's okay. So this is our feminine noun ending in akara, akaranta noun. Now ikaranta noun ending in ikara. So this is, I have taken a word here, nari. Nari simply means woman, a woman. So here I have juxtaposed with our this feminine noun which we just covered, akaranta and ikaranta. And here the similarity is a little bit more than what we saw in Rama and Gita. What is the similarity here? So if you look at similarity here, in case of Nari, we have practically all these forms very similar. Singular is pretty much similar actually. If you look at here, Gita, so it's Nari, it's Nari. Gitam, Narim. Gitaya, Narya. So instead of Naraya, it becomes Narya. That is the difference. Gitayai, Naryai. Gitayaha, Naryaha. Gitayaha, Naryaha. Gitayam, Naryam. Then these ones also very similar. So if you look at Gita Bhyam, Nari Bhyam, Gitayoho, Naryoho, Narinam, Narishu. So here it becomes shu because I have the vowel before this is ikara, not akara or akara. That's why it becomes shu. Unlike here in Gita, it is su. Similarly, Narinam, this is based upon the Natvam rule. But if you are finding it difficult to understand, then don't worry too much about it. As I said, main thing is recognition of the pattern. So you see these two feminine nouns, even though they are different endings, have so much in common actually. So this helps you to, even though you may not reproduce the table, suppose you do not commit it to memory, all the tables, but you memorize a few tables, you would be able to identify the patterns, and you will say, okay, even if I do not know Nari Bhi, I cannot produce the table of Nari, but Nari Bhi, if the word I see, I will understand it's a third case plural because it is very similar to Gita Bhi, the table which I remember. So like this. So of course, more tables you commit yourself to memory, more helpful it would be. But even if you just seemingly remember a few and understand the patterns, you would be able to make a lot of sense of the lot of tables. And as I said, the meaning remains the same in terms of second case, third case, fourth case, that doesn't change. So nominals become very easy because of this structured approach. As I told you earlier that there are maybe about 25 tables. If you understand those, you have covered a good majority of nominals. We have already seen 4 now. So 1 masculine, 1 neuter, 2 feminine. So before we move forward, I just want to understand if you have any questions. Please confine your questions related to this topic, the feminine nouns endings, feminine noun declensions. So the question is, why Sambodhana singular is different from Prathama singular? That's how the rule is. That's in Sambodhana, only the singular would be different from first case. So in vocative, the only thing which will be different, so here the vocative is Nari, it becomes the short ikara instead of long. So that is the difference. And only first singular would be different between nominative and vocative, no matter what the combination is, but what the table is. Only there could be a difference between singular, between nominative and vocative. All the other two forms, dual and plural, will always be same. So there is a request, can you please explain Natvam rule quickly? Please refer to the class notes. They are very detailed, and also you can go through the relevant part of that video class. It will definitely help you to understand. It's not so difficult, and Amit Baba is putting very detailed, very organized class notes that will help you to understand. There is a question, is Kavi feminine? Kavi is not feminine, it's a masculine. Kavi is a poet. So Kavi is a word for poet. It is a masculine. There is a question, in the case of feminine, Akaranta, nominative and vocative is different. Yes, Akaranta you see here, Gita, Gite. So Gita becomes Gite. So the nominative and vocative become different in case of Akaranta noun. Question is, can you give us an example of a vocative phrase with a feminine noun? Of course, if you are calling somebody Geeta, somebody's woman's name Geeta, you will say, hey Geete, like, oh Geeta, please come here. Hey Geete, agacha, atra gacha, please come here. So like that, you will use, hey Geete. Just like you will call somebody. Basically, vocative is to call somebody, to address somebody. There is a question, is it the same as akara, that ikara is not common but ikara is common for feminine? Ikara is also common for feminine. So certain endings are more common for certain genders. For feminine, akara and ikara are most common, but ikara, the short e, is also common. Many names seem to change gender with akara or ikara, such as Brahma and Brahmi. Is this a general rule? Okay, so there is a question that we actually change the gender by adding the akara and ikara to the nouns. Is there a rule? So yes, there is a rule, and the rule is this. So in Sanskrit, I told you that noun and adjective both are considered nominals and both have the same tables. Looking at the declension, you would not know whether it's a noun or adjective. Only the context within a sentence would tell you whether it's a noun or an adjective. So generally, when we have an adjective, so let's say word adjective, I'll give you an example of adjective word called Sundara. It means beautiful. Now, this is generally considered an adjective. So this actually, most of the adjectives, they can appear in all the three genders. So Sundara by itself, it's an akaranta word. If I use it as a masculine, I'll use it like Ramaha, like Sundaraha. So it becomes Sundaraha. If I use the same word as a neuter, then I'll say Sundaram, like Vanam, Sundaram. So it become, the forms will become like Vana. And if I have to use it as a feminine, I'll use Sundari. So in Sanskrit, adjectives also have gender, unlike in English. So in English, you will say beautiful, whether it's a beautiful forest, beautiful man, beautiful woman, beautiful girl, beautiful boy, whatever, beautiful mountain, you will always use that word beautiful. But in Sanskrit, that changes. If you have to say, for example, a man, Sundara, you will use Sundaraha, Naraha, Nara is man. So if you have to use it with the Naraha, you have to use Sundaraha. If you have to say beautiful forest, you will say Sundaram Vanam. And if you have to say beautiful woman, you will say Sundari Nari. Nari we just studied, Nari is a woman. So because of this reason, the adjectives actually have to match the noun in Sanskrit. You cannot just put Sundara for everybody. So that's why there is a rule in Sanskrit. And generally that rule is that if it's ending in akara, a word, in order to make it feminine, you either make it as akara or ikara. There are more elaborate rules where you put akara and ikara. We will not go into those. But the idea is that understand this part, adjectives have to match the noun in gender as well as in number. So number means if you have to say multiple women are there and you say beautiful women, then you will say Nari, like Nari becomes Narya, plural. Similarly, Sundari will become Sundaryaha because Sundari and Nari both will have the same table. So Sundari will have the same table actually. Just like Nari, it will have the full table. And you will say Sundaryaha, Naryaha. So the number also has to match. So the gender has to match, number has to match, and case has to match. If you are saying that this was done by beautiful woman, a work, like you are using the third case singular. So you will say Sundarya Narya. So adjective has to match the noun in Sanskrit. And once you understand this concept, it's very easy. If you don't, it seems very intimidating actually, because so many different forms. But remember, most of the forms will follow the same word. They will, so it's just a matter of being familiar with the endings. Okay, there is a question. How can one recognize the exception when masculine is with akara or ikara? No, you have to study those. There is no automatic rule actually. If a given word is an akara or ikara, whether it's masculine or feminine, you will not know. You have to study and maybe refer to dictionary. Of course, if you see the akara masculine endings, they would be slightly different than akara feminine endings. Is there any method to distinguish masculine, feminine, and neuter nouns? I already explained this part, that gender in Sanskrit does not depend upon the object, but on the word itself. And you basically look it up in the dictionary. If you are very familiar with Sanskrit grammar, you can figure it out. But for most of us, you just look it up in the dictionary. There's a question, do all nominals end in the endings we have studied so far? No, these are just a few endings. There are a lot many more endings where the nominals can end, but these are very common ones. The what we have covered so far, these are very common ones. There is someone saying that there is a black square on the main screen which prevents me from seeing the screen. This just appeared without me doing anything. I'm not sure why would the black square is other people also facing the same problem, that they are having the black square which is blocking their screen? Okay, so I'm not sure. Well, it seems like many people are having this issue. Let me see if I can do anything about it. It's gone, I hope, right now, right? Okay, so I was actually accessing the chat window. It seems like that was causing the issue. So in order for me to see your questions, I have to access the chat window, but it should go away afterwards. So I just wanted to, so it's just a chat window apparently which is coming there like this. We'll see later on if we can fix it. But for now, as I'm reading the question, I have to see the chat window, otherwise I'll go back to the screen, then it should be okay. Can you please show the Ikaranta on the screen? Yeah, Ikaranta is this one. So, and you will have these tables. We'll put them in the notes. We'll also have them in the as a separate file, maybe just for all the nominals in the exercises also you will have. So you will have the opportunity to refer to. And of course, all these tables are there in the book also, Egenes' book. So you can refer from there also. He has given an appendix at the end of the book, and it's all there. So I'm just trying to read your questions, if there are any questions here. Okay, I'm just scrolling through the questions actually. There is a question, when I say woman is beautiful, all the word beautiful also takes its same form as woman. Yes. Will the word beautiful also, word beautiful also will take the same form as woman? That's correct. There is a question, it would be Sundaro Naraha with Sandhi, right? That's correct. Actually, I'm happy that you have figured it out. So you see Sundaraha Naraha, this word, based upon our Visarga Sandhi, this becomes Sundaro Naraha. That's right. The question is, so the he in the vocative case is to exemplify that you are addressing someone. It will not always appear with he before in the scripture. That is correct. He will not appear in the text. Like he is, we are just using he here just to emphasize that it's a vocative case. So there is a question, when you are addressing Gita or Sita, are you calling two persons? In Ramayana it is used many times. So Gita and Sita, they are both Akaranta nouns, Akaranta feminine. And if you say Gita, the interesting part in form of Gita is that both singular and dual, both are actually Gita in vocative. So if you say Gita, how do you know whether it's one person or two persons you're calling? So we are hoping that based upon the context, somebody who is calling, it will be clear whether he is addressing two persons or one person at that time. But it's only the context which will determine actually whether it is two persons are being called or one person. All right, so with this, I'll give you a little bit exercise, class exercise. So here is I'll put it in read view so that it's clearer. You can see the whole screen. This is the exercise. Based upon this table which we just studied, Gita, which is given here, you write the declensions of Bala. Bala is girl. In Sanskrit, Bala means girl. So Nari means woman, Bala is girl. It's also addressed sometimes in it. If you are addressing somebody as Bala, it could also mean, and you could address a adult as Bala, that it would be like you are saying that you are childish. So in that sense also it can be used. So this is the word. Please write the forms. Right now it is 9:58. We'll meet at 10:10, 12 minutes. So 10:10 will again gather together. Welcome everybody. I hope you were able to solve this exercise without much of any problems. It was pretty simple and straightforward. I just want to share with you, in Egenes' book, the book which we are following, all these tables are given in the separate place in the appendix. Where you can actually access all the tables in one place. So here are all the tables actually. So you see this page number 298 here, tables, and it says stem nara, masculine, man, given on page 74. So here he has only given in Devanagari here. If you want to access it in both Devanagari and Roman script, then you go to page 74. Like this. And then he says for phalam, neuter, given on page 92 in the book. Sena, feminine, which is the same as like Gita, Sena, given on page 145. And here he has given in Devanagari only. But on that page, if page 160, if you access that page, you will find in IAST script. Nadi, like we did Nari, Nadi. So in one place you have access to all the tables here, which is nice. A nice way to actually put the organization. I want to use the remaining class for addressing some of the questions which we have been doing, which I received from the email. And I'll open the document here. Let me just see in the chat window. It might block the screen, but let me just see if there is anything. Will Lakshmi also follow Nari, also Hari? Yes. Nari, Lakshmi word also will be similar to Nari. Is the word for girl and boy the same? Word for girl and boy is not the same. So it is very similar though. So Bala, this is boy. And if this is the long A, then this is girl. Okay, in order to see the chat window, I have to keep the put the chat window on the screen, which is causing you to get the screen blocked. We'll see how can it be addressed. I'm a bit surprised that it's happening today. It was not happening earlier. But when I answer a question, when I refer to something, I minimize the chat window, so you should be able to see the whole screen. Only for reading your question do I need to access that. Okay. Then here we are having these questions. We already covered this one last time, that in 3x3 table for the verbs, this anti does not take the long A. Gacha plus anti does not become gachanti. It's a special rule which applies here. Similarly, it becomes vasami, not vasami. We already discussed that. Okay, there is a question here. Why in the book, that is the Thomas Egenes book which we are consulting, is cha both after the first word and after the second rather than either or? So there is a rule related to word cha. So there is a word called cha, which means end. In English, it would mean end. This word in Sanskrit is a little bit used a special manner, in the sense that if I say Rama and Shyama, so if I say Rama and Shyama, I can actually say Ramaha Shyamaha Cha. I can put the Cha towards the end and it would mean Rama and Shyama. Or I can actually say, I can put Cha after every word. So I can say Ramaha Cha, Shyamaha Cha. So it's an option for me. Either I can put Cha at the end of all the words which I want to say this and this and this, or I can put it after every word. So the choice is there for me. So that's what the question is in the book. Why is it in two places? Because it can be used either towards the end or after every word which I want to say Rama and Shyama. In the book Introduction to Sanskrit Part 1, Thomas Egenes, page 6, the stem of Prachati is given Prach. In exercise 6 and 7, the stem is Prach. Is both right? So I do not know whether you remember by now, but we did this exercise. Looks like long time ago. I'll pull up the book, page number 6. So that would be page number 6. So here it says root prach, pruchhati. And the exercise which I had given, I had used the word prach, this word. So are they the same, both right? That's the question. Yes, both are right. What I have seen in some books, it says prach, more common, and in some books, it says prach. My guess is that there were manuscripts. Some manuscripts, older manuscripts had this word prach, and some manuscripts had prach, but most common is prach, but they actually mean the same thing. Generally, the copies of Dhatu Kosha, which I have seen, it gives the word prach. In the book of Introduction to Sanskrit, page 25-26, they give the form of the word dwell with S instead of H. Is that correct? So let's pull up the page 25-26. So this is the page 25. And here you see, it says ti, tas, anti, si, thas, tha, mi, was, mas. And if I look at the forms which we covered here in our class, verb endings, we said ti, taha, anti, si, thaha, tha, mi, vaha, maha. So the question is, why there is a difference? Are they both correct? Here, look at the note here, what he's saying. When a word is formed, final S becomes, final Sa becomes Visarga due to Sandhi. So that's the reason actually why we are actually doing the Sandhi, doing directly with the Visarga tables instead of saying first Sa and then Visarga. That rule, that how come Sakara changes to Visarga, it's more of an advanced rule. Since we are not going to study in this class for beginners, we actually said let us use these endings so that we directly apply instead of first ending with Sakara like here and then using a rule which we are not going to study in this beginners class. The actual endings given by Panini do indeed mention this thus, thus, was, but then there are other things also in Panini's endings which drop off based upon certain rules. We just wanted to keep it simple and not too complicated, and therefore these are the endings which for all practical purpose they will work fine. Okay, so this somebody here is writing, trying to do all the homework, exercise from teacher, exercise in the books. I'm used to study a language. I'm used to work hard. I know it demands dedication and commitment, but I realize now that I'm stressed because I want to keep up and know this is going to be very difficult for me. I'm a teacher also who let her pupils work hard and learn a lot. After the Sanskrit course, I follow myself. This week, I immediately have diminished the amount of homework for my own students. How long will the course be online accessible in Sanskrit documents? So first of all, I congratulate on your dedication and commitment towards learning Sanskrit. We would have this course online accessible in documents for, definitely we do not know yet how long will it remain, but it will definitely remain for a few weeks. And I would recommend you that after the course is complete, we put all the documents in the repository, then you download everything on your hard drive. So that way it will not matter even if some point in time later we take it offline. But it will definitely remain for a few weeks. Another reason why you want to download is that any kind of documents which we are updating, the last version would be the most updated version. So I would definitely recommend you to download maybe a week after the classes end, so that all the documents are updated, and the course would remain online accessible for definitely for a few more weeks, maybe for a month. And we could potentially keep it online for much longer. We just don't know yet, and we don't have a site where to host, but we could potentially make a plan to be able to have that anybody in the future can also access it. So this is another comment where person is working very hard and wants to, I realize that I cannot keep with the pace of class. And yes, I understand. First of all, it's a very good thing that you are so committed. You are trying to work and trying to keep pace. It can be difficult, I understand, because there are other duties also for many of you. Please do as much as you can. As I told you earlier, please do take advantage of the recordings, class notes, exercises which we are putting on the drive, in the shared drive, and access whenever you do not understand something. You can easily repeat that part of the lecture. You can easily read that part from the notes and keep yourself up to date. But if you continue with this, and maybe you might be lagging a little behind by the time we end the course. As I said, the course will remain, and if you catch up even later on a little bit, it would still help you tremendously in learning Sanskrit as well as pursuing the further studies of Sanskrit. So do not give up. Even if you are a little behind, try to keep as much as you can. So this is a question from Egenes' book. I'm attaching the last part of lesson 3 exercise and want to know if I want to, when I translate the Sanskrit sentences in V, C, D, F, G, H, how do I distinguish from English if I should translate to dual or plural? Because they can be translated into dual or plural. So Egenes' book, I think, says very clearly that if it is mentioning they two, then only you use dual. Otherwise, you use plural. Egenes' book actually mentions that. Pranam, I noticed a difference between the transliteration scheme in the documents and Egenes' list of vowels, with a long rukara with a dot underneath, not included as a vowel in Egenes' scheme. I think it would be included as part of the alphabet, but I'm not sure why it wasn't listed. So the question here is this vowel, this luru. So this is not listed in Egenes' book as a vowel. The thing is this vowel does not appear actually in Sanskrit literature, at least the classic literature. Maybe in Vedas it does. So that's why it is not listed. If you just look at the list of vowels in Sanskrit, many books will omit this particular vowel. Even this one appears very rarely. And this one simply doesn't occur anywhere in the classical Sanskrit at least, which we are studying. I have just included it for the reason of completeness, as well as many of you who are practicing Kriya and are practicing the vowels might wonder that why it is missing here and why it is not missing there. But for all practical purpose, you can just forget this particular vowel. So with this questions, we are actually coming to our time. I'll just tell you what are the homework. So there are, we'll upload these exercise. So this one, these 4 forms: Nadi, Ikaranta feminine; Mala, Akaranta feminine; Parvati, Ikaranta feminine; Rama, Akaranta feminine. Please write these 4 forms, and I have included in this file itself Gita and Nari forms, so you can actually take a look at them and then make your tables for these 4 forms. So that is one exercise, home exercise. Another home exercise is this. So in Gita, Bhagavad Gita, that is first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, try to identify as many words which end in akara or ikara feminine. So I have included the link where you can see the split and you can check your answers, whether you are correct or not. It may not be very easy at this stage, but I want you to actually have a feeling that how the things work, how what we are studying matches to what is in the scriptures. And one example I have given from verse 1-3, Mahatim. The base word is Mahati. This is case number 2, singular, accusative, singular. So that's how you complete the table. This table. We'll post a solution for this. But for chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, identify all the feminine noun forms. Feminine noun only those which are ending in ikar or akar, not other feminine nouns, because we haven't studied this. Okay. So with this, I just want to quickly see if there are any questions in the chat window. Srimad Devi Bhagavatam uses the letter which is excluded by Egenes. There is a question. Can you please make these homework immediately available immediately after the class? Yes, we'll post it right away. Okay. There is a comment by David Baba that Srimad Devi Bhagavatam uses the letter which is excluded by Egenes. I have not seen. If you can send me in the email the photo of the page which you are referring from Devi Bhagavatam where this letter occurs, I will look into that. So both homework files, actually all the 3, including the class homework file, I'll upload it into our repository, and the solution maybe sometime today later in the evening. But I would put this one quickly. Okay, so this will be done, and now we would close the class with the prayers. Okay, so please sing along with me. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Thank you everybody.